Okay, no one knows the real version of this. Not Kelly, not Brenda, not Brandon. This happened way before the Walshes came to town, before I was at West Bev, during the summer of Iris and Jack's brutal divorce, where the goal was to go for the jugular and squeeze. They went to war over everything. Couldn't agree on anything except that their son, Dylan, was a mess. By the time I reached the end of middle school, I had already been kicked out of 2 prep academies, as well as a shitty little school for shitty, spoiled rich kids. My drinking had become a daily thing, and I just got caught smoking pot. My parents flipped a coin, and Iris must have lost, because next thing I knew, I was on a night fly bound for Maui.
Dylan, get out here. You don't fly 3,000 miles to stay in bed all morning.
I'm jet lagged, Iris. Go easy.
Get up.
Iris was in the garden. I was half asleep. There was way too much sunshine. Iris lived up country in a glorified treehouse in Kula with magnificent view of the channel to Lanai, but all I could see were the 2 little bottles of Jack I yanked off the flight attendant's cart waiting for me in my suitcase. Walking to the patio, I turned a blind corner and tripped over the most perfect tanned pair of legs in floral board shorts. They were connected to a body belly down within a flower bed. Oh shit, sorry. I'm running on fumes.
No, my fault. I didn't mean to block the path.
What are you doing down there anyway?
The plumeria, needed some extra TLC.
She got to her feet and wiped off the dirt and fertilizer from her faded sleeveless t-shirt. She was as exotic as the blooms she was tending. I couldn't tell if she was my age or a couple years older. Didn't matter. Her smile was brighter than the damn sun.
Dylan, this is Michelle Ramos. Michelle, my son, Dylan McKay.
We shook hands, and even with Iris there, it was not at all awkward. Michelle was Filipino, something in the color of the coffee shaved ice her parents served from the back door of their little fish restaurant in Paya. Iris was a regular, and before long she invited Michelle to become her apprentice 3 mornings a week. A nice break from the drudgery and smell of a summer spent washing dirty dishes for her parents. Michelle went back to pluck her sick plumeria, and over a breakfast of papaya, toast, and island ground coffee, I had to listen to Iris bag on my father while criticizing me for being exactly like him. She was right. Like Jack, I wasn't listening. I couldn't take my eyes off Michelle, and she knew it. So when Iris went off to a yoga class, Michelle gave me a crash course in gardening, identifying all the flowers she's been tending.
This one is Frangipani, that's hibiscus, tiger orchid, bird of paradise.
It all just dripped like honey off Michelle's lips that I so wanted to kiss, but I also wanted to get into my suitcase. I came back with the little bottles and offered her one. She cringed, told me she comes from a long line of drunks, adding that the last thing the islands need is another one. She then challenged me to pour them out and go 1 week without any booze, beer included. I took the dare, threw the bottles over the embankment, and moved on to plan B. Well, how about we score some pot? Bet it grows like gangbusters up here.
So they tell me.
You've never tried it?
I live in Maui, dude. Of course I tried it.
And?
The first time it made me giggly. The second time it made me sleepy. The third time I got paranoid. Who needs that?
Oh well, some fantasies pan out better than others. I headed back up the path to the house to lick my wounds when the sweetest words a Southern California boy could hope to hear came tumbling out her mouth.
Hey Dylan, do you surf?
Is water wet?
Tomorrow, early. I'll show you my spot.
We headed down to the coast in a rusted Jeep before the sun decided to come out and join us. She turned off a windy dirt road past a sign that warned that trespassers would be prosecuted and continued until we reached a white sand beach with the most brilliant turquoise water you can imagine. We grabbed our boards and paddled out to a hidden reef where these pitched waves that started in Tahiti would roll in all summer long. We were the only ones there. In between sets, sitting on our boards, she told me how she adored my mother who believed in her and paid her like an adult. She hoped to be the first in her family to go to college to study landscape design, even though her parents expected her to work full-time after high school. Man, listening to Michelle, I felt ashamed how unmotivated I'd become, how unfocused, ashamed how easy I had it. The waves were closing out, so we came in and napped side by side on the sand, wet skin on wet skin. Our eyes closed, but not for long. A chopped down VW dune buggy right out of Mad Max was coming for us with some large locals aboard. I'd surfed spots on Maui before I knew there were some serious island rules, tough beach gangs to navigate. Got to my feet to meet them like a young prince of peace when Michelle stopped.
Let me.
Michelle went straight for the leader, a tattooed Samoan-sized behemoth in cut-off jeans and chains for a shirt. That was Bobo. They spoke with that broken island dialect. The only word I could make out for sure was howdy. Michelle held her ground, and eventually Bobo gave up his scowl and walked my way.
Baby girl says you okay.
I remember smiling. My chin remembers getting popped with a sudden and solid right jab, a sucker punch. I went down.
Oh, Bobo, what did you hit him for?
It's the price of admission. Welcome to my rock, bruh. Yeah, you can surf whenever.
Bobo was true to his word. I surfed my ass off there that whole trip. Michelle would venture out with me whenever she was free. Otherwise, we'd have lunch together with Iris whenever she would come to work. Speaking of Iris, I overheard her on the phone gabbing to someone about my improved attitude, crediting Michelle with my sudden transformation. Mom was right for a change. Being clean and sober agreed with me, and it must have pleased Michelle since she was the one who initiated our first kiss. It didn't get crazy between us. We always kept it cool, a couple of kisses here and there, with a little heavier action on the good nights. I didn't want to push it, knowing I'd be leaving soon, especially since Iris warned me that her parents were impossibly strict and she was probably a virgin.
What about you, Dylan? Have you ever?
Oh, I can't anyone ever ask me that before. I mean, I was rich, lived in a hotel, so I must be a player, right? And of course, I never tried to disabuse him of that notion, preferring to cement my reputation for being mad, bad, and dangerous to know. The night before I was flying back home, there was a big locals-only party to celebrate Bobo's birthday, and we were invited. It was going down at one of the cane fields. Michelle really wanted to be there even more after her parents nixed it, so I became part of the deception. I promised her parents and I promised Iris to have Michelle home from the movies in Kihei by 10:30. The night sky was high, the moon could not have been fuller. Thai sticks and bottles of oki were being passed around. Oki is the preferred bootleg booze of the island made from taro root and sugar cane. It supposedly packs a white lightning wallop. I wouldn't know. Michelle made sure I didn't touch this stuff. But we did toke up a few times when the blunts got passed our way. A raggedy-ass reggae band was playing Bob Marley on an endless loop, and we sang along at the top of our lungs as we danced with our arms around each other. You got to lively up yourself, and don't be no drag. It was still early, not even 8. Bobo orchestrated a drunken, stony game of hide-and-seek in the cane fields. Michelle and I hid deep within the stalks. No one was going to find us, and nothing was going to hold us back. We wanted each other and couldn't stop. I confess that for all my posturing, I had never gone all the way, and neither had she. We let our bodies lead and climaxed as one. Later on, there was a massive display of fireworks to honor Bobo. We were kids and all aglow until a barrage of misfired bottle rockets came down wrong and set the cane field ablaze. It got nuts in the smoke and confusion. We were caught on the wrong side of the highway and the wrong side of a promise with no way to get home till early the next morning. Michelle's parents were furious, grounding Michelle for the rest of the summer, making her quit her job with Iris to work full-time as a dishwasher. Iris was livid, making it clear how disgusted she was with me on the ride to the airport.
Your aura is warped. You're worse than your father. Now get out of my car.
On the flight back, I scored 2 Jacks and a Tanqueray off the beverage cart. Back home in Beverly Hills, I never told anyone about Michelle. I didn't want to cheapen what we had. Michelle was my first. I was hers. Now you know.